Hello, my name is Johan Reyneke. I'm speaking to you all the way from Stellenbosch in the southern tip of Africa. We have a small family farm or a winery called Reyneke Wines. It's on the Polka Dry area of Stellenbosch. It's a beautiful area. It overlooks the historic town of Stellenbosch. It looks towards the ocean, False Bay. Cape Town is in the background. It's an absolutely beautiful place. I don't know if you can hear, but there's a helicopter that just flew over the roof. We are an organic biodynamic producer in Stellenbosch. We are Demeter certified, and we are actually 100% behind regenerative agriculture, and we have been so since the year 2000. So for the last 22 years of my life, I've been trying to be a good farmer. My experience was an interesting one. I never wanted to become a farmer or a winemaker. I studied philosophy, and I studied environmental ethics. But as a student, I had to work in the vineyards, or I suppose I could have get a job as a waiter or as a barman. But I got a job as a person working in the vineyards. And two things happened to me. In the daytime, I didn't enjoy working with herbicides and pesticides and fungicides. It made me feel uncomfortable to work with these hazardous chemicals on a daily basis. And in the evenings, when I was studying, when I was doing my master's degree in environmental ethics, I think with knowledge comes obligation. And I was reading things about nature and about us, people on this planet, and the role we play. And increasingly, I wanted to start to farm with nature and not against it. And it's been a very long journey, and I'm still learning a lot as I'm carrying on. But we've come a long way, and it's been a great experience so far. I think the first thing that I had to understand is that most farmers use herbicides and pesticides and fungicides not because they want to, but because they believe they have to. And for me, when I stopped using herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides, in the beginning, I had a lot of problems and I had a lot of challenges. And someone explained to me I was being organic by neglect and I must become organic by design. So I must understand why farmers are using herbicides and pesticides and fungicides. And if I choose not to use those products, I must come up with other solutions because the problems don't go away. So I think for me, probably the biggest challenge was to re educate myself as a farmer and to really think about how I farmed. The motivation was not difficult. I live in Africa and we talk about the big five. Everybody thinks we talk about a rhino or a leopard or a buffalo or an elephant. But in fact, my job today, being a farmer in agriculture, is also part of the big five industries that contribute to global warming. And this to me is a terrible thing because I love farming, I love nature, and global warming is a big problem. And I don't want to get up every day and make things worse. I want to get up every day and make things better. And I know that depending how you farm or choose to farm, you can be a part of the problem or you can be a part of the solution. So to motivate yourself to farm in a regenerative way, and you can call it organic, you can call it permaculture, you can call it biodynamics, you can call it many different things. The motivation part to me was quite easy because I think I want to do the right thing. I want to leave a better life for my children, a better planet for my children, a better farm for my children. The difficult part was to teach myself or to learn how to farm without herbicides and pesticides and fungicides. And this is not a difficult thing to do. It is difficult to change your habits and your thinking. That is the only thing that's difficult about it. But to farm in a regenerative way is not rocket science. Our ancestors have been farming like this for 6,000 years already. We've only really been, doing this chemical farming since the World War. So I think the knowledge is there. What is required is a will to really educate yourself and to farm with nature going forward. I think the benefits are plentiful. You must understand the farm and the vineyard is my house. And that's where I live. That is where my wife lives, my children live. That's where I spend every day of my life. So for me to live in a natural environment which is free of chemicals, which is healthy, I can see the birds come back, I can see the bees come back, I can see the wild animals come back to the farm, I can see how the soil becomes alive again. These things to me are incredibly beneficial. Just from an existential point of view, this is how I like to live. This is how I want to wake up and live every morning. So, from that sort of point of view, it's been hugely beneficial, but it played other roles as well. South Africa is a very dry country, and increasingly so. Our rainfall is problematic, and we're going to get to a stage where we have to think long and hard about water and how we use water in agriculture, especially if it's using water not to produce food, but to produce something like wine, which is what I'm doing. And what I've seen is since we have farmed in this way, there has been a great improvement in the soil quality of our vineyard. Now, to explain this, we farm in one of the areas of the world with the oldest soil, the poorest soil. If you go to Europe to a conventional vineyard and you measure the humus or the carbon levels in the soil, they will be higher than where we farm here in the southern tip of Africa. So we really had to put a lot of effort to build the soil health, to build the soil structure, to build the humus levels in the soil. But what has happened in terms of water is that we need only 50% of the water that we needed 20 years ago when we even had more rain every winter. So our farmers become a lot less reliant on irrigation because the higher humus levels in the soil retain the moisture. It's like a sponge that holds the water for much longer in your vineyards. The other benefit is that we don't have so much erosion. My farm is on a hill, and when you stand on the hill and you look down, you see the town of Stellenbosch, and if you look to the other side, you see the sea, the ocean, False Bay. But every winter we have a lot of rains on granite soils, and we must be very careful to get erosion and to let our topsoil wash away on this hill. And since our humus levels have improved through regenerative agriculture, we've had a lot less runoff. Again, the soil acts as a sponge to keep it. I think probably the most beneficial thing to me has been the vitality of my vineyards. Many years ago, when I started farming in this way, I was told that if I can increase my humus levels to 5%, the resilience of my vineyards, my vines, the plants that live there, increase by as much as 300%. And this is true. So farming organically or farming biodynamically or farming regeneratively is becoming easier and easier every year as my soil health is improving. It is a positive circle that feeds itself and that I can highly recommend for other people to try. And I think people are often intimidated the first year or two or three, and those are difficult because it's new information, it's a new way of farming. People are scared to take risks, And what compounds this, or what makes this worse, is that if your soil is not healthy, and your soil will not be healthy if you've been using a lot of fertilizer and herbicide and pesticide and fungicide in your vineyard, then it is more difficult to farm organically because, like I explained, there's a correlation between the plant health and the soil health. But don't give up. Just try and get through those first 2 or 3 years, get to understand how to farm with nature, and you will be rewarded if you do persevere for long enough. It becomes much easier and it becomes more affordable, it becomes more profitable, and I think at the end of the day, it is more fun. At least for me, I enjoy farming a lot more now than I did in the old days. I think the biggest difficulties would be a lack of knowledge or a lack of understanding. When we started to farm in this way, this was in the year 2000, and there was not many examples in South Africa of how to farm organically or how to farm biodynamically. So we made many mistakes and we had to learn through trial and error. And I think it was difficult to keep the faith, to keep believing that we were doing the right thing, especially when it wasn't working out so well initially. I think today it will be easier for people to change because there is a better understanding of what this type of farming requires. There are the community is out there to help you. There are people who have been farming like this for a number of years who will gladly share the knowledge they have to help you to also become a regenerative or an organic or a biodynamic farmer. Um, so I think, yeah, the probably the biggest difficulty was this re-education that I had to take place, and to look at my farm in a different way, and to stop fighting nature and to start working with nature. And then I think there are other challenges, but they are more unique to South Africa than they are to perhaps growers in the other part of the world. In South Africa, for example, we do not have organic standards that are internationally recognized. So to give us credibility and to separate us just from greenwashing, anybody can say they are green, and you can't prove it. We had to get certification from Europe, and we had to get certification for America and Canada, and we have to pay for that in euro, and we have to pay for that in US dollar, and our currency is very weak. So I think that is a particular challenge that is unique to South African farmers who want to go this way. And then also, I believe in Europe, there are subsidies. The government will help farmers, perhaps even more so if they want to work in an environmentally friendly way. This is unfortunately not the case in South Africa. You are on your own as a farmer, and there is no incentive or benefit or anything from the government side if you want to farm in a more natural or environmentally friendly way. But given all of the challenges and all of the risks, if I consider everything, I still think it is, without a doubt, the way to go. And if I could do it over again, I would do it exactly over again, but probably just a bit quicker and a bit better than the first time round. My advice to people who want to do this would be to go for it. Um, and I say so for many reasons. Um, I think it has become a lot easier to farm this way over the last 20 years. We are, we've improved. In the past, for example, we used something like copper in organic and biodynamic viticulture. And this is not necessary anymore. There is better and softer technologies available for things like downy mildew or to manage powdery mildew. and this knowledge is freely available to everyone. So I would say just start and just do it. I think people often are concerned about the risk of it, whether it's not very risky to farm in this way. But I say to people, you must just broaden your view of risk. Um, I love martial arts, and one of the things they teach us in martial arts is you must train hard in order to fight easy. If you train easy, the fighting will be hard. And it's the same with this kind of way of farming. It is more difficult to farm regeneratively or organically or biodynamically than to just farm in the conventional way with herbicides and pesticides and fungicides. But your risk doesn't stop at the farm gate. It makes no sense to produce stuff if nobody wants to buy your stuff. So, as farmers, we cannot just be production driven. We must also be market driven. And the market is definitely moving in this way. If I look at my father, he wanted aspirational products, um, fancy watches and fancy cars and things like that. But if I look at my children, they support very different brands. They support brands with integrity, sustainable brands. And this is our future as wine growers and as producers. So the market will count in your favor, technology counts in your favor, and the ability to farm in this way has become easier, and that information is more readily available. And last but not least, if you are interested, there's a beautiful poem that was written by Goethe on commitment. And I suggest that you Google this poem. It really worked for me. And what it says in essence is if you commit yourself upon this path, unforeseen things happen. You meet people, interesting people that come across your life to help you, and success will come your way. So it is the right thing to do. Believe in yourself and just go for it. It will be fine. I promise you. Um, I wish you luck if you're going to do this. And our door is always open here at Reyneke Wines in Stellenbosch. So please, if ever you're in South Africa, come for a visit. If you cannot come for a visit, feel free to phone me or email me or WhatsApp me at any time. Thank you, guys. I send you a lot of love all the way from the southern tip of Africa. Enjoy the rest of this wonderful conference. And thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Torres. I really appreciate it. Johan Reyneke.